Welcome, everybody. And this is our third interview with the Park Slope Windsor Terrace artists. And we feature tonight Judith Eloise Hooper and Robin Roy. We're gonna start with Robin. And Robin has an interesting background. She spent many years doing very large pictures for Evergreen billboard company. So Robin, I would love you to tell us a little bit about what you have to say here.
Well, I'll just do, first of all, here's my studio in the daytime. Now it's dark out, but I'm sitting in that chair looking out at my garden. Actually, what you're seeing on the wall, it's funny, I did a little, an oil painting class over COVID. And those are the results of my still life oil painting class that you see on the wall there.
A very different situation for you.
Yes, very different, but it was really fun. Very, very fun. I love doing it. Just to clarify a little bit, I worked for Evergreen. It's not a billboard company. It's a restoration and mural painting company.
Oh, excuse me, my bad. You weren't doing cigarette ads in Times Square?
Nope, that was Elise, not me.
Oh. But you did work with Elise at one point.
Well, Elise worked at Evergreen, the company that I was director of decorative painting. And I learned a lot of really interesting techniques, decorative painting techniques from really cultures all over the world, and got to do a little traveling and worked on really, it's an architectural painting company. So we were not restoring paintings, but restoring large interiors of state capitol buildings and things like that.
And tell me, well, you tell me when you want to go to the next.
I'm ready to move on.
Okay. Whoops, here we go.
Hello.
There we go.
This first painting, all of the paintings I'm going to show are all on paper. And these are some early, what I call pattern paintings that were done in the 70s and 80s. And I was very influenced by my North Carolina heritage of old wallpapers and quilts and really all of that influenced me a great deal. And I began early on doing these pattern paintings. And little did I know that it was a thing. It was actually, pattern painting was actually becoming a thing in the wider art world. And so when I went to graduate school in California and undergraduate in North Carolina. I moved back to North Carolina where I was an artist in residence for 3 years at community college. And I began doing these pattern paintings. And then I moved to New York in 1979 and got to immediately start showing some of these paintings because pattern and decoration had become a thing. So anyway, this is an early piece. It's just called Rachel, but I do want to say that all of the pieces I'm going to be showing, except for when I tell you, these are all about 2.5 feet wide and over 6 feet long.
Wow.
They're all like wallpaper format. It's just I really wanted you to see the detail, so I kind of am showing. I'm showing you a detail. I'm not showing.
Did you say 6 feet long?
They're 6 feet long.
Good Lord! And what are they on?
They're all on paper. They're all on arches. I would buy rolls of arches paper.
Good Lord, that's amazing.
Yes. So this is probably represents maybe 3 feet or something like 3 feet of it.
Right. And it takes you a while to do these, I presume.
Yeah. Yeah, many months. Next.
Okay.
This is a painting called The Leopard's Dream. And sort of like, the leopard is looking out at the world and the leopard's seeing his own spots on everything. He's seeing himself. Um, so again, I actually still own this painting, and it is over 6 feet long, and again 2.5 feet wide, and made up of, I mean, as much as I was completely interested in pattern, I've always been very interested in a narrative, in a story. It's like I love telling stories.
That's
And so they all have imagery. There are very few pieces that I ever did that were totally abstract.
I'm curious, there's a lot of repetitive imagery here,
Yes.
and it looks like it's perfectly duplicated. Is it? Or did you redraw from scratch each time?
My technique is that I would draw my image, and then I would draw it on tracing paper, and then turn it over and actually do a rubbing. So I was repeating it there many times, drawing and rubbing and drawing and rubbing. Or sometimes I would use, Saral paper. You know what Saral paper is?
No, I don't. Tell me.
Well, Saral paper is like where you can draw onto it and it will print. It will replicate on the backside.
Oh, okay. Like carbon paper. Okay.
Like carbon, yeah, very much like carbon paper, but it's for artists, and it comes in different colors.
Right.
So
You just tell me when to go to the next.
we're ready.
Oh, wow. Mesmerizing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Then I did a series. This one is not 6 feet long. This is just on a normal sheet of arches. And I was fascinated by Irish manuscripts, and particularly the Book of Kells. And so I researched that a lot. And I would take the structure of the page and translate it into pattern instead of words, instead of biblical words. I translated that structure into my own pattern. So this was a series of paintings of maybe 10 or 12 paintings at that time. It's just called Canon 1.
Okay.
And again, just copying the pattern of animal skins off of actual zebras, and then taking it and repeating it and creating my own pattern out of it.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, and the gold that you're seeing is a gold paint. At that time, didn't know how to gild, so I later learned how to apply gold leaf. So this is gold paint. Okay, next. Let's see. This is based on a very well-known quilt pattern called the double wedding band.
Oh, yes.
And so you can make out the structure of it. And again, this is 2.5 feet wide, 6 feet long, and this is a small section of it. And so traditionally, this is a quilt that would have been done by local wives, and it would have been given as a wedding gift to a friend or a daughter or sister, whatever, would have been given as a gift. But of course, this is on paper, and this is done with gouache. I loved that matte quality of gouache. It has absolutely no sheen to it. And you can see hidden in the quilt pattern are all kinds of domestic images.
Teapots and
Teapots and pots
Coffee
and
cup.
pans and cups and
Sewing machine, yeah.
sewing machines, irons, fans, all kinds of domestic utilitarian objects are hidden in the pattern of the wedding band. And the colors were very deliberately chosen to be camouflage.
Oh,
So I think if you can put the story together of a double wedding band and with hidden images of domestic use, and it's done in camouflaged colors, it sort of tells a story, tells a bit of a story there.
I'm curious. Two questions. Why do you make them so large? And secondly, well, this would make a great quilt. But have you do people ever want to put these on a quilt or a print, or do you sell them? It seems they're so large. I can't imagine that there's a it's not something you'd put in one's bedroom.
Well, I mean, they're tall, but they're not that large. They're, I mean, 2.5 feet or two, they're very narrow. It's just like a strip of wallpaper in a frame. I never intended to make a quilt out of it or anything. I never intended for it to be actual wallpaper. It has too much of a charge on it for people who really want it as wallpaper.
Right.
Let's see. This one is called The Gift of Tongues. And instead of being, vertical, this is a horizontal piece. It also, these are the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The Hanging Gardens of Balthazar, the pyramids, the Sphinx, etc. So, and then it's hard to see, but on the very edges, you see it, there's an uneven edge.
Right.
And what those are hands that are doing sign language.
Oh.
They're just doing a kind of sign language. And then there's going at a diagonal. There's also some activity that I don't know if you can make out. I guess you can't make it larger, right? You can't make the image.
No.
Yeah. Going in a diagonal across this is across the images of the wonders of the world is Arabic, just some Arabic writing. And behind everything is this black and blue checkerboard. I think you can make that out.
Oh, yeah, a lot of surprises in here. Wow.
Yeah, there are. And I think I've always been fascinated with the story of the Tower of Babel, which was the beginning of language, according to the Bible. I love that story. I love the fact that, sort of God created all of these different languages in order to screw us up so we wouldn't build the tower so high that we would reach God.
Yeah.
So there's some of that story in here with the different languages, and I can't really say that much more about it except that I was fascinated by.
Well, speaking of not saying much more about it, we should keep moving along and pick up the pace a little bit. We have a few minutes left, of course.
Okay, quickly then. So the last 4 pieces are something that I call, it's a suite that I call Table Talk. And each of the 4 pieces have a man and a woman sitting at a table doing various things. And each of them is a different color, a colorway. So this is the blue one, and this is called The Cause is the Cure. And they are having a conversation, and what they're doing is pulling apart one of those Chinese
finger cuffs.
Finger things where the more you pull apart, the tighter it gets. And what you have to do is actually come together. You actually have to communicate and come together in order to escape. So next slide.
I think there's a delay from the time I switched to the time you
Okay. And this one is called the Tower of Babel. And again, a man and a woman sitting at a table and having a conversation, and but they're being obscured by all this sort of stuff that's going on the table. The rooster, there's a bear with a performing bear, and they're sort of trying to be polite and communicate, but there's a lot going on here. And then there's a pattern, many patterns are going on in the background and in the foreground, and so they're having a time of it. And this is a green one, the green background. Next slide.
This must be the red one. I'm very perceptive.
This is the red one, and this is called Annunciation. And again, the couple sitting at a table, and it seems that they're reaching and they're groping towards something, and it's this ribbon-like, snake-like object that says, "In the beginning was the word." That's actually written on the ribbon.
Oh my God.
And
oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
while they're trying to communicate and have a relationship, you can see that there are all kinds of hidden doorways, and it's like there's danger. There's danger at every opening, at every doorway. There's a little bit of unknown. It's all unknown. It's secretive. It's dangerous. There's a tiger. There's some kind of strange animal leaping off into the background. And again, the pattern is embedded. Is the pattern embedded, or are they embedded in the pattern? It's like that.
Wow.
So next slide. And this is the last of the four of Table Talk. And these two are, again, having a conversation, and their conversation is being juggling up in the air, all these strange, obscure objects. They're juggling with scissors, which is not a good idea, could be dangerous. They're juggling with a lit candle, with a dead fish, with a chicken, with, a severed leg. So, all this whole series, and they're sort of in a tent, or you're looking through a tent. I don't know if we're in the tent looking out at them or something like that. And again, and by the way, the pattern that is throughout the background and the foreground, all of that pattern is the same pattern in all four pieces. It's treated differently, painted differently, drawn differently, but it's the same exact pattern.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Robin. That's quite a collection. I really, really appreciate it. We'll have questions for you after, at the end of the program. I certainly have a few, but thank you. That's really great.
Okay.